Oh, let me. Where is the thing? Hey, y'all. Good morning, and good morning. Look at that.
Good
Welcome,
morning.
welcome, welcome to Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, February 28th, Remix Morning Show. And as you can see, we have no boss today. Ha. We are here today. It is Women's Wednesday. Look at that. Lucretia, how you doing? And oh, you're muted or something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm doing all right. I think I'm keeping on keeping on. That's how I would describe it.
Pretty
How are you
much.
both?
Yep, same.
I'm good.
And yep. And Erica Keynes, how you doing?
Good. How are you? You all had a busy um couple days. Monday and yeah.
Every time I think I got this, we're gonna be prepared thing. Every time I think I get it straight, life be like, oh no. So Monday we had a demonstration. How is he in the chat? How is he not here, but he's in the chat directing
Uh-oh.
things? Oh, terrible boss vibes. Anyway, uh, uh, so Monday, for folks who don't know, there is a huge struggle going on in Guinea-Bissau, where the people voted for the party of Amilcar Cabral, the PAIGC, and the Terra Ranca PAI Terra Ranca coalition to run the government, to lead the government. But I think it's the despot president, the U.S. backed president, who's like, no. I know that's what the people voted for, but we're not going to open the National Assembly so that the PAI Terror Ranking Coalition can actually govern. No, so that's the big fight now. The first big fight was the election that the PAIGC and the Terror Ranking Coalition won, and now the big fight is to get the National Assembly, the People's National Assembly in Guinea-Bissau opened so that they can take their leadership positions and lead. So we, BAPDC, AARP, which, obviously, and PAIGC obviously has a presence in Burkina Faso. We had a demonstration in front of I keep forgetting, it is the African Union Mission to
Yeah.
the US, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very weird name. And the building is so nondescript. It was weird because it was like the Ukrainian embassy. Like when Abdus and I went to protest the Ukrainian embassy in 2018, we were like walking up and down M Street in Georgetown, like, what the hell is this embassy? And
Mhm.
it's a nondescript little building at the end of it's a little beyond M Street and Wisconsin Avenue. It's on the, the left side of the street. And it is the last building there. It's a very small building, the Ukrainian embassy. You can barely see the placard. So nobody knows they're there. Nobody pretty much knows they're there. So we had to find this place. We're like, oh, this is it. And then, we were out there doing our little thing, and people are peeking out the windows, and we got the Secret Service police called on us, and fun times. But the people in the African Union mission, they weren't doing any of that. They were like, they're outside. Shh.
Yeah, like the
These
Kenyan
guys,
embassy. Remember?
uh,
They were like the Kenyan embassy when
oh
we were
yeah,
out
the
there for
kid. That
Haiti.
was funny because they were like, there was no movement at first,
Right. They did
and
not want
then
to
you
leave
see the
their building.
blinds move.
Mhm.
And we're like, oh, they're inside. Let's yell at them.
Mhm. So we went
But
by the door.
yeah, but no joy at the African Union mission to the US. Um, because they were, man, they were pretty disciplined. They were quiet, they weren't making no noise. They were like, stay away from the windows.
Wow.
But we had a really, really good turnout. And it was just really great to do that protest, just to let the people in Burkina Faso know that they are not alone, that we are with them. We know what's
Guinea
going
Bissau.
on. Huh?
In Guinea Bissau.
What did I say?
Burkina.
Oh Lord, see? Guinea Bissau. Thank you. And then we had an added treat at the end of the demonstration. We got a call from a member of the PAIGC in Burkina Faso.
Guinea Bissau.
Oh, I keep doing that. Why? I don't know why. I haven't had any coffee. That's why. That's why.
It's early
Could
morning.
be why.
Early
Yeah.
morning.
You know, all the Africans look alike. No, I'm just
Yeah, I
kidding.
heard. Rafiki had mentioned Rafiki Morris of the AAPRP and of the PAIGC, because PAIGC, for those who don't know, the AAPRP started with Nkrumah Sekou Touré and Amilcar Cabral.
Look at that's right.
Yes.
So the PAIGC has always been a part of the party, and it's a significant action because in the National Assembly, they were able to win the majority of the seats. I think over 54 of the seats, which put them in the majority. So it is a struggle for power, and it does show a sort of electoral process and a different route towards gaining power that we've seen. It's funny that we have seen in the Sahel, primarily with Niger and Mali and Burkina Faso. So we're looking at different avenues towards political power, and it's really significant that we support it. So for those who were not able to see, Rafiki did say that Comrade Imani of the PAIGC, who's in Guinea-Bissau, did call in, which is what Jackie was talking about. But if you have not seen, we've had Imani on a couple weeks ago to discuss this when it was first developing, to raise noise around ECOWAS. So please do find that. He was on the Remix Morning Show, and then I think Rafiki Morris also came to give more context a couple weeks later. And now here we are in a continuous support of the National Assembly of the which is the PAIGC at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I think Malcolm X Grassroots was out there with you all too, right?
That's right. Yeah, we had Jomo with Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, and met some new BAP members, Mimi, and tell me if I'm getting this wrong. I'll get it right eventually. Chi.
Yes, it is Chi. Yeah.
Woohoo!
And
Look,
Mimi
y'all.
was at Dr. Ball's house for the PE.
Oh, that's
So I got to
wonderful.
meet Mimi then.
Yeah, so it was really dope to meet some new folks who were really excited to come out with us, to be a part of BAP. We got some new members coming. Just a lot. I would love to plan things for BAP DC, but that's kind of hard to do. But it's not impossible. We are planning a lot of activities. Hopefully that we'll be able to pull off around not Netflix, Jackie, Net Group. Jesus. Listen, y'all, they changed my medication again. So I don't know what's going on in here. I don't
You're still getting very vital information, Jackie.
Yes.
I'm just
Don't beat yourself up. You're doing well. I'm here to
As a
listen.
BAP member, sorry. I was just gonna
No,
say, as
go
a BAP member in the Hudson Valley, I feel very alone. I feel like I'm in the wrong location. Get some organizing done here. Yeah.
well.
Everybody's in DC.
So
I mean, we do have the, our leader is the
we
shit.
are
I ain't
kind of
gonna
low.
hold you.
Yeah.
We are kind of deep,
Set
kind of
the
lit.
membership meeting. We're like, nah, BAP Midwest got it.
Well, yeah. So
You do.
you do.
Yeah. So so that's it. And I was looking for the article that our comrade Netfa sent, where we were actually covered in the news in Guinea-Bissau.
Excellent.
So I'm going to pull that up, and we'll get to it in a minute when we talk about the news. But yeah, so look, what's been going on with y'all? Well, Erica knows what's going on with y'all. But see, I think I don't think people realize that, like how busy we really are, like all over the place. It's like a miracle that we can get up this early into.
Listen,
I'm really amazed at truly all of your efforts. I see you and I'm like, okay, I see you here, lovely. And then next there's like a clip of Erica on a panel or, in Cuba. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty amazing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. It's actually a lot. I try not to reflect because then I'm like, I did too much.
Right.
Because when I think about this month alone, and it's still February,
Right.
still February.
Right. Got a few days left.
Right, and at the very last day is an action. So, so, so,
Yeah.
so yeah, it is a lot of work. But it's not. I think it makes it easier because it's not solo work. So there is a team, there is a citywide alliance, there is a region that supports a lot of these things. So nothing that I've necessarily done has been like individual efforts, aside from being on that panel in Indiana. But then when you look at that panel, it was a BAP panel practically. It was me, Musa, and two blacks. So yeah, we pushing our line clearly. But yeah, the Cuba thing was a hood communist thing. I know, Jackie, I did put in the email. If you want to put it up now before we actually do some news, I could probably talk about these things that are coming up.
Yes, that would be great because
yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
Yes, it is. Let me find the email because so and I always give that Baltimore credit. Where is it? I can't find my email. Here it is. So I always give Baltimore credit because Baltimore had been organized as a citywide alliance, even though they didn't know they were a city. Before citywide alliances were a thing, Baltimore was already organized. And then we organized, BAP leadership organized the formation into regions and citywide alliances because 800 some members all over the country, couple places, couple people in a few other countries. You can't organize that many people without an extended infrastructure. So the DC Citywide Alliance didn't even exist. And, we were just in DC, just doing stuff, hanging out with Baltimore, just doing stuff. And Mr. Ajamu Baraka gives me and Abdus a call one day. I think Abdus was still here. And he's like, so Africans, we got a lot of members, hundreds of members, and we really cannot organize these people. So I've been thinking, and me and Abdus are sitting there looking at each other like, why is he calling us, telling us this? What's this got to do with so of course 15 20 minutes later then he gets to what it has to do with us. And he's like, I want you to lead DC. Lead DC what? DC has a mayor. What are you that there has to be a citywide alliance and there needs to be a region and I want you to organize who you want to organize some stuff. So that's how the regions came about. That's how the citywide alliances came about. But I want to make clear to folks that Baltimore is they are the standard. They have been the standard for organizing. Erica and Petros and Obi and Jamila and all of these, and forgive me,
Sheena and Nia and Chi.
Thank you,
Roderick and Ryan.
Thank you. All of these people have been
Ash.
They hit the ground running, and they are just amazing.
Yeah,
I learned from that lady down there. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh. So yeah. So let me share with you why I give them the credit they do. Other than Ricky is fantastic, and so is everyone in Baltimore. But they doing all this stuff. So take it away, Ricky.
Oh, not this one, but yeah, you can say this wasn't the email. It's the one that was sent to you and Air Doctor and
in the other email.
Yeah, with the announcements. But
yeah,
we did just have our screening for we're part of excuse me, hold on. We joined with the Haiti Americas team to have this screening because on the 29th, it would be 20 years since the 2004 coup of Aristide. So it was a hybrid screening. Let me just say, I am not a fan of hybrid. I really am not.
Why?
Well, because I think that it gives people an out. to not show up. And we
Mm.
really do think there is a value of being in that space, because the conversations that happen in those spaces are not the same, especially the let out, right? You know, it's really hard to get people to leave because everybody's in conversation. Like
Yeah.
every time we have an event, we're like, all right, no, we really have to go.
Right.
I have a child. I have to go.
Good to see you, but
Wrap up
leave.
these talks. You know, like sign up for the newsletter. We can continue these conversations. But no, I do think there's a value in it, and I think that the idea that it would be a hybrid, just like the idea that something's going to be recorded, kind of lessens people. They're like, oh, well, I could just, you know, check it at any other time, you know?
Mhm.
And I do think in person brings a particular urgency, which is why we feed people. Always, there's always food at our events, but then we
Mhm.
always everyone's masks. We give out COVID tests. You know, we try to hold events where they are air purifiers, like No Moon, No Moons, things like that.
Mhm.
The churches. So we are trying to make certain, you know, instances where people feel safe enough to come in. But yeah, but this is what we are leading up to. We had that screening, which was a movie screening of Aristide and is it the Long Revolution or the Continuing Revolution?
I think it's the Long Revolution.
The Long Revolution.
It's a fantastic documentary too.
Yes, it is. It is really eye-opening, especially in terms of narrative, how they say things and how they depict things. And then also seeing Maxine Waters is always a treat.
I know. Like when she was really radical, like, man, where'd she go?
Yeah. But we are doing that in a lead up to the Day of Action, which is on the 29th, which is on Thursday. And like I said, the 29th is 20 years since the 2004 coup of Aristide, where they literally picked that man up and flew him out of the country and sent him to Africa. So yeah, we are encouraging not just BAT members, but everyone who can to plug in, so you can do banner drops or teach-ins or wheat pasting or art. We're really wanting to push art. You know, if you can post some art reflecting that the crisis in Haiti is a crisis of imperialism, post it on Instagram and things like that. We do want to, you know, bring some cultural aspects to this. And this is just one of many to come, Day of Actions. We're looking to continue this for the next couple of months. So next month will be another opportunity, but we are providing a toolkit. Jackie, if you can put the toolkit link in the main chat for folks.
Shall do it.
We give you the information to throw a teach-in and the information to wheat paste and how to post online and tweets that you can send out and hashtags you can use and things like that. So we make it pretty easy for folks to, or as easy as possible for folks to dive in, jump in and support that Day of Action, because they are really moving on Haiti. I just seen today that Benin has agreed to send 2,000 police officers to Haiti.
They're back in the mix.
Had its own issues. They don't got no, you know, stay out of Haiti. So that's Thursday, and then Friday, I will be at Princeton University alongside Sharice Bernstein and a bunch of heavy hitters. So I am incredibly humbled that I was even considered, but it is a race in capitalism in the 21st century, an interdisciplinary and community engaged workshop. So I'll be presenting something on, you know, domestic and internal colonization, and how that has manifested into this sort of police state that we are living in as occupied, colonized people. So there'll be a presentation on that as well as others. So if you are in Jersey, check that out. Please come out. And then Sunday, we will be reporting back from Cuba, the Hood Communist Team, on our Telegram page. So check that out. Awesome. And then I'll stop because I feel like it's a lot of me.
It is a lot, but it's a lot of really great stuff that we really need to know. And I don't know why this toolkit is not, the thing is not copying. All right, I'll put it in there from here, like that.
Should we stop the minute?
29 February 24. There you go.
Someone said Ricky's church announcements.
Yeah.
to start that, you
Oh,
all,
it
before
sounded
we.
like the revolutionary Alexa down there.
No, it's really like I try to give the shortest bios now because I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
this could
because
never
Yeah.
after a
end.
while.
Yeah.
hmm All right. So, shall we slap the map?
Let's
Let
do
me
it.
find it.
Did he leave a music drop or break or anything?
Did he? Let's see. Yes, I think he did. So we'll have a little break
Yeah.
and then we'll slap the map. Yes.
Yeah, that works.
Fantastic. All right. Here we go, y'all. The Remix Morning Show.
Open your eyes, get wise to the exercise. Talk about teacher, that's most dominant. You need knowledge while I'm dropping it. Listen to the rap, allow it to trap your body and soul so that you can adapt to the man on display as I take you away. So may I? Yes, you may. Proud to be a black man, coming exact and giving up brothers 5 on the back and great release and peace upon each other with my sisters and brothers. Yo, word to the mother. I say the mother, as in the motherland. But on the other hand, another man tackled and shackled our ancestors, but we beat them with freedom. So let's bless the country that we all came from. Because the bubble of it all is we shall overcome. The cream will keep rising. We be sizing up. The Asiatic one is enterprising, building and carry on. All the way from Malcolm X to Farrakhan. Martin Luther was a tutor. Many were pupils. Those who fell victim were those without scruples. Ever. The sever, we could never. So hold up, please sign and stand together. Take heed to the words that are manifest. So when I'm speaking, Molly,
Once again, welcome out. This is no other than the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And go to patreon.com and become a member over there so you get footage that's rare. Yeah, and this is the Ear Doctor in your ear. As we get back to the Remix Morning crew, you know how we do. Let's go.
All right. Let's see. Where can we find it? Good grief. There we go. I'm getting better at this. I don't think we need him anymore. Sorry. All right. Maybe we still do need him. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show. It's Women's Wednesday, and I'm Jackie Lukman. We are here with Lucretia and Erica Canes. What y'all got insofar as the news is concerned?
I do have a story.
All right. Oh, I got it.
In the private chat.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this
Uh-oh.
is
This is a paywall.
oh no. Okay, I can share it
Okay.
because I have it. Okay. So this has been making national news because of the amount. So
Here we go.
there you go. So $1 billion donation will provide free tuition at a Bronx medical school. Ruth Gottesman, a longtime professor at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, is making free tuition available to all students going forward. $1 billion. She is the widow of a Wall Street financier who had stocks and knew Warren Buffett here. Her husband was a protege of Warren Buffett. She taught at the school, retired, and decided to make this donation. How this donation came about was, I thought, pretty interesting. So she became friends with this guy, Dr. Philip Ozua here, during the pandemic. And they met each other on a flight, apparently, spoke about childhoods, realized they were from the Bronx or spent their careers in the Bronx. And he talked about his life immigrating, and she thought that was great, I guess. And so he offered to actually literally nurse her husband during the pandemic. Um, it says here, Dr. Gottsman in his 90s became ill with COVID-19, and Dr. Ozua sent an ambulance to Rye, New York, which is a pretty fancy area, to their house and came over daily in protective gear to check on the couple. And that's how the friendship evolved. So this gave me lots of pause. I just had lots of questions to this. So yeah, the money was left to her. Another thing, she didn't know that this money was being left to her. So I just can't imagine not knowing that there's $1 billion floating out there, that my husband just surprisingly left me upon his death. So I'll stop there. There's more, but that's what I wanted to share to start.
I mean, it's a messy story, but
there's a big old gap there that I'm just like,
right. But I think for me, what's really sticking out is it's been noted on EYL a few times that there are just a bunch of rich white people just giving money away to schools. But the uptick of that in just the last couple months alone is really interesting, because it is big numbers like that. It is just $1 billion. And I'm always curious, why the $1 billion? Like, what is that? Just a number that they decided that this would just be the standard, or but it is just so happens to be a frequent amount of efforts by these rich white people who suddenly have a heart and care to just give $1 billion away to assist in financial aid and or whatever, or building new buildings and things like that. So I'm really curious about what's that motivation about, because it's not. I don't know. At this point, I don't think it's random.
Yeah,
I'm not like conspiracy theorist around it, but I am suspicious of it because it just so happens to be the same number. And it's been since January, really. And we're at the end of February. And it's been at least 3 or 4 stories like this for random people I've never heard of, like that's just sitting on wealth, and they have $1 billion to just give away. And then who they're choosing, like the type of schools that they're choosing to give the money to, I think is significant too, because they just all happen to be in particular areas or tied to Africans here. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, aside from the relationship, I'm sorry. That's just that there's being nice to people, and then there's whatever was going on.
He was literally serving her just to get the donation, but
look. And I'm just like, okay, so this man he left $1 billion to his wife. So that means he had a lot more that just got eaten up by his estate and bills or whatever. And that always leads me to ask, like, what were y'all doing with y'all money before you died? Like, did you have to just amass all these billions of dollars and then, out of the kindness of your now not beating heart anymore, distribute it to, your wife, who gives it to a college, a university, an elite university that probably not having financial problems? Really, they could have just given that money to the students, to people, and to go to whatever school you want to, have a good time, and it's just, I obviously, to me, it is the uptick in January and February. Well, it's tax season. These people need their tax write-off. They need to make sure they get that tax write-off on the record by a certain period of time. And it may be too late for this one, but she's rich, so I'm sure there are different filing rules for rich people. But it's the way this money is gifted to these institutions. It seems to me that there isn't going to be any change in the institutions, in the makeup of the institutions. Why do I think that? Because it's the institution that's deciding how they spend the money, how the money gets spent. If they're not giving the money to poor families so they can send their kids to school wherever they want. She gave the money to the university so they can continue to be the gatekeepers of this $1 billion and continue to be the gatekeepers of who benefits from the $1 billion, who they let into their school. Because just because medical school tuition is free because of this largesse from this woman, from this family, it doesn't mean that the university is still not going to pick and choose who they're going to offer that free tuition to.
And the article goes on to note that most students graduate from this university with over $200,000 in debt from their tuition. And also that the president notes that you can get your name on a school building. The going rate for that is a fifth of the donation that she gave. So that's all you need to give to get your name on there.
What? So
Yeah,
so
just
does
a-
she
just
get
a
a
fifth.
so does she get a whole building built for her now?
In the article, she mentions that she doesn't want her name listed on a building. Nobody
Okay,
needs
well,
to know
that's
who I am.
that's good. That's good.
Well, I did want to share what was brought during the pandemic against Montefiore Network hospitals, including the one in Mount Vernon. If I can
Those
share.
hospitals, man.
Ooh.
Didn't one in Brooklyn have some controversy too?
There's a lot of controversy in this whole
Yeah.
network.
Mm.
So this was released by a couple different Hudson Valley and let me zoom in a bit, organizations, including the retired nurses, retired Americans, nurses, and other community groups.
Shocked
And-
that SEIU's not on there.
Yeah,
Shocked, especially in New York.
very shocking.
Yeah.
What I wanted to draw attention to, they have a lot of statistics here, but I wanted to show this here, the waiting times. So what happens in two ICUs? So the waiting times for both are pretty high, but for the Mount Vernon Hospital, which has a majority of Black residents, 66%, the ER wait time is 7 hours, and
Wow.
wait time to be admitted is almost 10 hours. And their ICU closed during the pandemic, and so usually if you had COVID, this was during the pandemic.
Wow.
The beginning of the pandemic, this was released. Or if you're critical, you are transferred to New Rochelle, or in the Bronx, which could be anywhere from apparently.
Right, that sounds like from Mount Vernon. Like
Yes.
they
Yes,
take you to New Rochelle.
they're taking you to New Rochelle or the Bronx, and then you wait for another 8 hours. And
Wow.
and then more time, and then finally admitted. Meanwhile, the white residents have still quite a long wait time, but they're not being transferred anywhere. So this graphic was really shocking, and they have lots of others in this report showing the disparities in the network that this hospital, the Montefiore Medical Center network, is part of, and this medical school.
Wow, that is crazy. That is crazy. And the thing is, if billionaires would pay their taxes that they're supposed to pay, we wouldn't need their philanthropy. We would not need them to gift billions of dollars to any. If school tuition were free in the first place, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Everybody could go to college. I mean, we could be like Cuba, but no, we can't have free medical school unless an individual gives $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And again, still, I don't trust the university. I don't care if the whole school is tuition free. The university still has admission standards that they
Right.
are going to continue to use.
CUNY
So
doesn't.
just because the school tuition is free, it doesn't mean that everybody gonna go.
Right.
They still get to decide who they give that free tuition to.
Yeah, and we see that with CUNY. When CUNY rolled out their sort of free tuition program, the people who have access to that is very limited,
Mhm.
because they have so many barriers of red tape around it. But I wasn't, when I was saying that it's very interesting, I'm thinking about it in terms of the way that they're looking to do all these kickbacks and things like that in lieu of reparations, right?
Mhm.
And there's been that conversation, especially recently, that there is a plan for how they're going to go about making sure that they do receive these kind of kickbacks if they were to have to give in. So I'm just thinking about, like, why is it $1 billion? Why are all of these people invested?
Mhm.
Because it's not to say that they haven't done this. Philanthropy obviously has been a thing in the nonprofit sector, obviously, of course. But this is just this sort of turn of events in its
Mhm.
recent couple weeks around it. And then it's also, my question is, like, how many freaking white people are sitting on billions of dollars? Like, who are these white people?
That was my thought. I was like,
Like,
just a cool
Like, I
hidden
don't know
billion?
white people like that.
no, like, I don't, these names I've never heard of. They're just in the background. They're owner of this company, that company.
And why don't I know white people like that? What? How
No.
No, I don't know.
with that kind of money? Doggone it. Claudia O'Brien said, CUNY imposed tuition the very year the demographics were more Africans and non-white students. So, I mean, see, this whole thing about, universities now being more diverse and providing for the lower income population, they're really not. They're not. They're doing a sleight of hand. They're taking all this money, and creating all these scholarships and saying that tuition is now free. Anybody can come. Money is not an object. And then, but out of the other hand, they're imposing more barriers to admission for people who otherwise would be able to freely take advantage of the free tuition. There will be other reasons they won't be admitted now, other than you can't afford it.
Yeah. I don't know if we have another story. I do.
Yes, we have your story. Where did you put? Yeah, okay. What? What
Did it
kind
come
of
up?
weirdness is this thing doing? Okay, here, let me do
Right.
that.
Because I did mention Haiti earlier, I did want to talk more about what's happening again to highlight the 20 years, but also the Kenyan government is just moving around doing what it wants to do. The high courts have told them that they cannot send police officers into Haiti. And since they have said that, the Haitian government, Ruto specifically, has vowed to just circumvent that, and do all he can to challenge that court ruling. And what has happened in these last couple days, in fact, has been pretty interesting. As noted, Kenya had pledged to provide 1,000 police officers to a mission in Haiti, and they were blocked by the court ruling that deemed it unconstitutional. That was brought forward by civil society groups in Kenya. But again, Ruto is determined to pursue this project. So the pretext, well, and also he's determined to pursue this process because the U.S. has promised 200 million, I believe, for the project as motivation. So even though this is a UN peacekeeping mission, the U.S. is looking to pay Kenya for it. So the pretext for this sort of consolidation of the occupation of Haiti with the UN, U.S., and Kenyan forces is the escalating quote unquote gang violence and like this fixation on the gang violence and things like that. But I do want people to note it's really not dissimilar to how we're seeing these cop cities pop up all across our country. Well, not our country, all across the country, because there's a pretext of a sort of rise in crime, right? And they're using that to say, well, we need more officers, we need more training because there's a rise in crime. But we do know that statistically that's not what's happening. We do know that these are in concentrated areas, and that's what's happening in Haiti. Haiti is not experiencing an overwhelming escalation of gang violence, certainly not to the extent of Trinidad and Tobago, the Bahamas, and Jamaica, Turks and Caicos even. But Haiti gets exceptionalized, and all of this is happening in Port-au-Prince specifically, where there is a lot of uprisings around labor issues and working issues, and it's happening specifically in the region, in the areas around the U.S. Embassy consulate, which is the largest, I believe, in the region. But and our comrades Molagov, who are member organizations of BAP in Haiti, they argued in their recent statement, which you can find on blackallianceforpeace.com, that the real reason, of course, for the U.S. and the core group imperialists to maintain their criminal political agenda and keep Haiti under control, they say, quote, at a time when the popular masses are seeking ways to organize themselves, the criminal political agenda is simultaneously seeking ways to renew its power, with de facto President Ariel Henry receiving various types of support for holding fraudulent elections in the country, end quote. So aside from the mysterious circumstances that are still being investigated, what this article shows here is that they're still meeting. Canadian government, the U.S., and the Haitian government were in D.C., and they had a meeting around how we still going to move forward with this. And what the article notes is that this man, one of the people who was there, ends up dead. And yeah, so there's a lot of interest in how did this happen? But my interest is, why were they even in D.C. to have this meeting in the first place? If the Kenyan High Court said that it's unconstitutional, why is Kenya in the U.S. discussing this with Ariel Henry and the government when the people in Haiti don't want this? So I think what you highlighted is that the police officer who was part of the team of 12 officers of the delegation to Washington, D.C. for discussion on this planned security mission in Haiti was found dead. So why were they there? And I think there's no real interrogation around that. Like I just said, Benin has just agreed to send 2,000 police officers. Why? And then also CARICOM is having meetings in Guyana right now currently, and Ariel Henry, because they're still legitimizing this man, CARICOM, still upholding this man as leadership, even though no one voted for him, and he was installed by the core group in the U.S. and the UN. He was invited to represent leadership of Haiti, but he only stayed for a day, maybe two, and then he went to Kenya. So we really want to emphasize the 29th because they are doing a lot this week, this week in the lead up to the 20th. I don't even want to say anniversary, but it's the recognition of 20 years since the coup d'etat. And since that 20 years, we have seen MINUSA that came in through the UN, but then also the core group, which includes Brazil, who sent troops. They have been under occupation. The OAS has been regulating. The US has been regulating. And then when they sort of disbanded MINUSA after the controversy around the Gloria and the rapes and all of those things, it just changed the name. They never left. So the core group still has interest. The core group still has a lot of power in that region, in spite of the people and the civil society groups pushing for their own particular demands and alternatives. It's not being heard. What is being emphasized is the gang violence. And I want people to recognize that as the same call for like the rising crime that we hear here. because it all leads to the same sort of occupation of us. And these are the ways that we can really make these interconnections, because people always like to deem Haiti, or not even deem Haiti, but think of Haiti in terms of a past context. You know,
Mhm.
they always talk about Haiti being the first free Black republic in the region, right? And then that's it.
Right.
They leave it
Right.
there. And there's no conversation about the occupation of Haiti between 1950 and 1934, or what happened to Haiti under the U.S.-backed leadership of Papa and Baby Doc, and
Mhm.
the first coup d'état area of
Right.
Aristide in 1991, and then the
Mhm.
next coup
The
d'état,
second one.
yeah, right. And then Moïse not standing down, not leaving. So it's been a continuation after drying out all the funds for the Petro-Caribe. So
Mhm.
I think that these are really important contemporary contexts to understand Haiti under, so that we can really advocate for Haiti. Because I know there's criticisms about, you know, all of this advocation for all these other nations, but I do want people to not think about it in that way, because it's all been a building. What we see
Mhm.
the support for Cuba today is not what we seen
It's
10 years ago. It's
nope.
certainly not what we seen in the 90s.
Nope. It's
It was
absolutely not.
built.
Yep.
Right. So the support for Haiti and the advocacy for Haiti has to be built. And that's why we're
Mhm.
asking people to really tap in on the 29th and really utilize the toolkit and do something. Banner
Mhm.
drop, you know, artwork, art shows,
Mhm.
teach-ins, talk to your neighbor, print some stuff out and we paste it. We have all those documents available in that toolkit. Please
Mhm.
utilize it.
Yep. I plan to do that, to wheat paste some things in my neighborhood. I think I might have to do it under cover of darkness, but I don't know. I'll figure it out, because you know these folks real bougie, but I'm tired of playing with them. So and then we'll have BAP Mid Atlantic will have, you know, some events. I think here in DC we're going to do a big social media campaign with some art and stuff. And then we'll continue, because like Ricky said, we're going to have these days of action for Haiti up through March. So this is only going to grow. It's not the last time you're going to hear about this from us. But I kept this article up because I wanted to point out that these people, after their government told them that it was unconstitutional, it was a violation of the Kenyan constitution to send police to another country, they come to the US and try to draft a memorandum of understanding and set a date for the deployment of the mission. This is after the Kenyan Supreme Court has said, no, you can't send police to Haiti. That's illegal. That's unconstitutional. So you know, the United States is not the only entity that made up this thing called the international rules based order. There's no such thing. There are no international rules, because anytime your government can tell you this is constitutional, you cannot do this, and you try to do it anyway, you recognize that nobody's going to stop you, because you are now rolling with the biggest bully on the world stage, and that's the United States government. Who's going to check them, right? So this is the fact that these 12 Kenyan officers defied their own government. And this is not a situation where, you know, you should, if you're a person of conscience, you should violate laws that are unjust. But this was not an unjust law. What they're trying to do in Haiti, that's unjust. That's criminal. That's illegal. And it's just wild to me that you know, there are no more rules now. All of a sudden, I don't know where the rules went, y'all, but there's no rules-based order. There's no what's the other thing the United States always says they
Something about
have.
democracy. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, you know, democracy and you know, whatever else the
Human
US says.
rights.
Yeah, human rights and you know, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, none of those things exist with the United States and anybody that is willing to do business with the United States for any reason. I just thought that was wild that their Supreme Court, the Kenyan Supreme Court, was like, y'all know this is illegal, right? You can't do this.
And
We're
that
not
was
gonna let you.
pushed by the people of Kenya, because Kenyan people are facing the brunt of violence and abuse from their own government, their own police
Mhm.
force. So, and then also they were the ones who raised the issue about the Constitution. In Kenya's
Right.
Constitution, they are
Mhm.
not allowed to send their police or their military to other nations. It's just
Mhm.
unconstitutional. So the fact that they are dismissing that is a problem, and they brought that to the courts, and the courts actually agreed. And this has been something that has been contested in the courts since, I believe, October. So this
Right.
is So only recently the court, I think last month, they made their final ruling that no, you really seriously can't do this. And Kenya said, "Oh well, okay." And then now somebody's dead in DC. You see what?
Right.
Right. So,
And look what you did.
Everybody just doing what they want to do. And someone asked the question in the chat about what is Brazil's role in all this. And I mean, we don't have that kind of time for me to shit talk Lula, but
So hard to fit it
Yeah.
all in, you know.
right. But
We
I
need
think,
another hour for that.
right. But I think what the issue is that Brazil remains in the core group.
Mm-hmm.
So for all the progressive and for all the leftism that people are, shining and reigning, and for all the good feel speeches that Lula may give in terms of Palestine after condemning Hamas. Don't forget.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Don't
right.
forget that he did that.
Mhm.
Gotta start there.
Yeah. And then,
Mhm.
right. And, after, now that he wants to kick Israel out and all of that, and people are like, yay, Lula. No.
No.
Mhm.
Social democracy, especially in Latin America, is a fool's errand.
Mhm.
They always punch left and lean right to their own detriment, which is why
Mhm.
lawfare is rampant throughout the region,
Mhm.
because they do not support the left, because they don't have any solid grounding, because the politic is not solid.
Mhm.
But he has consistently been silent, obviously, about what's happening in Haiti, but Brazil has remained in the core group, and that fundamentally is the issue.
Yeah.
As of right now, I don't know of them agreeing to send troops, like Peru is agreeing to send troops, Peru being right now a product of lawfare.
I was about to say the reason that happened is because of the right wing government that is in Peru
Yes.
now. So it's wild that this is like the first thing they haven't even been in power for what? Has it been 6 months yet?
Who, in Peru?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been over a year.
Oh, that's right, because that's what's her name? Dilma Boluarte. Yeah, that's right. I'm getting her confused with dude in Argentina.
Oh, Milei. Yeah.
Yeah. The latest right wing despot to win an election in a Latin American country.
But that is what's all happening in a region that, these are all also nations that are part of CELAC, calling for a zone of peace, which is why we released our campaign last year, because it needs to be a ground up people's movement, pushing for the sovereignty, especially centering what's happening in Haiti, because we're seeing that all of these forces, institutions, especially like CARICOM, just do not care. And in their mind, they're doing Haiti a solid, because it could be worse. It could be white faces.
Right.
So it's not the white man.
Just always got to watch these people, and the way they move, because they know that what's going on in Palestine is what people are focusing on right now. There's a lot of frenzied scurrying in the background, so they hope that people don't notice what they're doing. Well, sorry, that didn't work out for y'all.
I think the sad thing is most people don't notice what they're doing.
That's true.
Why, they're able to get away with this.
Yeah. Nah, not for long. We're doing everything we can to make sure that they do not. All right, so we have a guest. Do we still have a guest at 9:00? Okay, so let's take a little break, and then we'll come back and we'll chop it up with our guest. Here we are on the Remix Morning Show. Let's see. Can I find the second one? Yeah, there.
Once again, welcome out, y'all. Welcome out. This is the Remix Morning Show, and this is the remix on the remix. So you know how we do it. Let's start it off like this. Come on.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Let's go back, let's go way on the way back when.
Let's go.
I didn't even know you couldn't have been too much more than 10. Just now, I ain't no psychiatrist, I ain't no doctor with the degree. But it don't take too much time to see what you're doing to me. You better think about what you're trying to do to me.
Hey, think.
Let the mind go, let yourself be free.
Uh-uh.
Oh, freedom.
Freedom. That's right. This is how we do it right here. The remix on the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. And please make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, go to patreon.com, become a member over there and get footage that's rare. In case you didn't know, this is what we're doing. Share. Let a friend know this is how it go. Yo, let me let y'all know who y'all was just listening to. No other than Aretha Franklin. That's right. That's that Think off her album Aretha Now that came out in 1968. And in the back, you hear some of that Wilson Pickett. That's right. The Wicked Pickett. That one came out in 1965. That's that Mustang Sally mixed with that Thing. So that's what it is right here. Remix on the remix. Now, let's go back to our host with the most right here on the Remix Morning Show.
All right. Uh-oh. There we go.
Expecting that to be a little bit longer.
Sorry.
I know it was kind of short.
It was a little bit. I thought that was a little short. I thought the first one was a little. We gotta talk to him about that, man. If you want to ask
I'll put in my notes for the next time.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you very much. Yes. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show, Remixers. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Jackie Lukman. I am joined by Lucretia and Erica Caines. We are about to have a guest, but I wanted to make sure I got this from Esme $4.99. Thank you so much. People just think the worst of us Haitians because we are Black. There's so much BS that was done to us: theft, rape, murder, etc. Free Haiti. Absolutely. And, this is, I just really feel like this moment in history is like where the imperialists, the capitalists, the white supremacists, the settler colonialists they're really pooping their pants because, this thing, their little project was not supposed to go this way. They were not supposed to have all these problems with all of the darks around the world. We were just supposed to settle, be happy with our oppression and the crumbs that they give us and say things like, well, at least I was born in America, and not pay any attention to anything that this country is doing around the world. I'm so happy that the global imperialists are very scared right now. And I think we should improve on that. We should ramp that up to making them terrified. Yeah.
I also think that it's also important to note that strategically where Haiti sits, Haiti has been the laboratory for what has been done in the region, from the Organization of American States and their presence in the region, to sanctions, and how that has developed throughout the region and how they've been able to use that throughout the region. Because one of the things that the documentary didn't note, that I didn't know, was that Haiti was under a blockade from 2000 to 2004. And I had no idea that it was a blockade under there because, we have some additions in that book on sanctions. And I also have a piece, and my research from there was during the occupation. So post 2004, and tens of thousands of children died due to those sanctions that were levied against Haiti. So to hear about that blockade, it was like, well, shit. Well, then, okay. So the student uprising against Aristide starts to make a little more sense, right? You know, things start to develop and start looking like a real color revolution when
Right.
when you learn about certain things that you may not have before. But yeah. And I also want to note that Haiti freed itself, right?
Ooh,
So
come
the
on.
issue is not that Haiti is not free. The issue is that Haiti is continuously colonized. So hands need to be off Haiti. The West needs to get out of Haiti. The core group needs to get out of Haiti.
Leave Haiti alone.
Yeah.
Let Haiti live, doggone it. All right, your guest is here, so let's see. Let's
Yay.
get into this interview. We need an intro for you.
You could do yours. And no, we don't. It's okay. It's fine.
Okay, well,
Ricky said
here's
it doesn't work.
my intro for Ricky's interview. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show, everyone. I'm Jackie. There's Lucretia. Nope, Lucretia over there. There's Ricky down there. And we have an interview. We have a special guest, and we cannot wait for this conversation. We're very excited. So, Ricky, take it away.
Yeah. Well, of course, my computer starts to die, so I want to take a little break. But I do want to introduce my comrade, Salome Ayuak, right? Salome is an educator, a researcher, and organizer currently serving as the Secretary of the South Sudanese Akoli of North America Association, and is a member of the BAP Atlanta and the Africa team on BAP. I wanted to have Salome come on here because I did sort of receive a little criticism that I was not talking about Sudan enough. But like I said, I don't want to be speaking on things and getting it wrong, because I have been hearing people speaking on Sudan, and it just it hasn't sound all the way right. It certainly hasn't sound like anything that I've heard you say and others. I did want to bring you on to give some context. So if you want to start, maybe talking about what's going on. I know in December of 2022, the negotiations for a 2-year transition to civilian leadership in Sudan, it appeared to be underway. But then by April the next year, the conflict erupted between the Sudanese Armed Forces, the SAF, and the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. So I don't know if you want to start there and contextualize it a bit, and then we can get into more questions.
Yeah, definitely. I think when it comes to Sudan, it's good to start right before independence. And so a lot of what's taking place is actually also influenced by the condition that Sudan was left in after flag independence. And so Sudan gained independence January 1st, 1956. But a year before that was the First Sudanese Civil War, which was primarily taking place in the South. And those in the South weren't necessarily involved in, or those that weren't within the elites were not involved in any of the negotiations that took place in terms of in terms of any type of political power, any type of economic power, any type of social power. In fact, under British rule, there's a Southern policy in which folks in Southern Sudan couldn't even go to Khartoum or go to university, et cetera. So all of those things impact what's going on here right now, because there's been unequal distribution of power. The people of Sudan have only been able to wage their interest through revolts. such as the revolts of 1964, which actually started due to a student from South Sudan getting abused by a police officer. And then that rallied the entire country together. And Sudan also has a rich history of unions, which are also relevant to the current situation, as well as varying self-organized groups that actually many of them came to be right at the independence of South Sudan. So we can dig into the whole issues with the independence of South Sudan maybe later in the conversation, because that too is was a product of British colonialism and imperialist interests coming in, especially the U.S. coming in and wanting access to Sudan's oils, which are primarily in the south. But a lot of the issues that we saw that folks started fighting against actually came about through the succession of Sudan in 2011. So July 9th, 2011, South Sudan succeeds from Sudan, becomes its own country. And what that leads to is economically, Sudan's just a mess. Right, because most of the oil is in the southern regions, and this economic downturn was like further exacerbated by the IMF measures that were imposed onto Sudan, and this includes like forcing Sudan to make cuts within the public sector, and downsizing the government and lifting subsidies for essentials such as sour gum and petroleum. Of course, the folks within the peripheries of Sudan were already struggling even before this, but these measures actually led to the professional class in Sudan being hit, those that were in the city centers, such as in Khartoum. So you have lawyers and doctors working 2 to 3 jobs in order to live, right? And so this is not to say that it is the professional class that started and led the movement, but it is to say that their conditions being heightened led to a collaboration of Sudanese civil society of being like, this is bullshit, like, nah.
Right.
And so you have the Sudanese Tea Sellers Association, which came about at this time, the Sudanese Professionals Association, and all these neighborhood groups coming together and really leading these revolts in 2019. And what we see from that, this people's-led movement quickly turned into more elite interests being put to the pedestal when you bring in folks like Hemeti, who's leader of the RSF, and you bring in you bring in the leader of the Sudanese Armed Forces, which is led by Burhan. And these folks, then their interests are not in the interest of the people. So then now they're at the table with quote unquote shared power, which doesn't necessarily work, especially when the people does not have a people's army, right? So there's like an imbalance of power there. And then they're further legitimized by being in these roles, by being in these seats. And then when it came time to transition to civilian rule, they led a coup. They led a coup, and then now that has led to this current war where these two forces are fighting for power, and none of them are within the interest of the Sudanese people, and each of them have backings by various Western powers. And so a lot of the history of Sudan in terms of like this claim around the binary nature of which we're made to understand Sudan, especially around like this being an Arabs versus Africans issue, or this being like these narratives are like that are creating Sudan into this very binary thing, really actually ignores our diverse history, ignores the different relationships that have taken place, in which there have been times in Sudanese history where, for example, a particular group that may be seen as African would like be able to come into a space and completely like take over a small area that was like quote unquote Arab, or like Arabs going into an area that was quote unquote African, and having to assimilate to that particular area of space. And so without understanding the full history, we fall into this binaries, and then we keep seeing it as like as an issue of like Arabs versus Africans, as opposed to like the people of Sudan struggling for their liberation versus these Western-backed armed forces that are within their own interests.
Yeah, I'm going to ask, and I don't know if you, Lucretia or Jackie, also have questions. But to that point, you talked about this being a binary conversation, but I did want to ask, like, who benefits from that sort of binary conversation, and how does the support for the rapid support forces, or even the, what is it? I think it's the SAF, right? The Sudanese Armed Forces. Like, how does the support that's coming from other countries affect this conflict? Who benefits from that binary language? And then how does this result in sidelining the actual workers and what's happening?
Yeah, so a huge part of this. Let me start with the first question about like how does this impact everything? So, for example, Hemeti, who's part of the Rapid Support Forces, which were the forces that were fighting groups in Darfur. His current PR campaign, I don't know if y'all have seen his Twitter or any of the media that he's been doing, where he's meeting with all these African leaders, right? That entire campaign is led by this Canadian PR firm that is actually owned by a quote unquote Israeli person. I say quote because Israel's not a real place, but it's led by them, and they have him in this, you know, in his well-fitted suit, going and meeting with these folks to legitimize him as a political leader when he's not. He's just like a leader of a paramilitary group. He does not know how to run a country. And like even within his own plan of like how to come up with about like what to do like when he's president, he's basically gonna have folks that are already trying to do this stuff and then just kind of be the puppet master of that. And so like these groups backing them, these folks meeting with these folks, it legitimizes this person who's not a real leader as a leader. And it really it makes it seem that like this is a legitimate fight between these two people, and one of them is for the Sudanese people, where neither of them are for the Sudanese people. They are backed by varying forces that have various interests. For example, one of the things is that when it comes to the way Sudan is situated, it's right by the Red Sea too. And so like these powers are also fighting for access to the Red Sea. And that's why the US has vested interest in this war. And then the other thing is that there's also external powers such as the European Union and Israel that is training and financing and arming the forces that are within this fight as well. And so those are some of the things that are being played out there. And it legitimizes people that are illegitimate, that are not for the Sudanese people. And it makes the focus on these two generals as the Sudanese people suffer, as the revolt that folks have waged is downplayed and made to be just about these two generals, like which one wins. Because like no matter which one becomes president, like this will lose.
Right. Quickly, I do have one last thing because you mentioned Israel, and then I'll yield. No, I seen online that you had mentioned something during the bombing of the Rafah about Egypt and how Egypt is connected to both Sudan and Palestine. So I really wanted to get you maybe to flesh that out some more. How does the Egyptian border serve as a significant link or connection between Sudan and Palestine, and what factors contribute to the dynamics or the intertwined dynamics between these regions?
Yeah. So the similarity, they're really using such similar tactics. Like in Sudan, the folks that are able to leave, they've been forced into Port of Sudan, right? Which is right by Egypt. And then in Gaza, the folks have been forced into Rafah, right bordering Egypt. So like the Sudanese people are on this side of Egypt, like the people of Palestine are this other side of Egypt. And like with like the only way to really, it's almost impossible to actually get into Egypt even when you're there, the amount of money that is required. So right now it's really only the folks in Sudan, the people who are actually able to get into Egypt are the people whose families, for example, are in the West and able to raise funds, and even within that, the it's very difficult to get in. And so like this is really a battle of the Red Sea. So even when we think about like the struggles going on in Ethiopia and like all these other parts of the Horn, like it's a struggle of the Red Sea, right? And so when we say that the tactics are similar, the goals are also similar. The goal is to have these access to these waterways. It's to have access to land, to resources. And so yeah, like that's part of the connection. Like Palestinians and Sudanese people are literally on either side of Egypt right now. So the connections, like we can't pretend that even like if we want to make any other excuses, like it's literally on the map. Like we can't ignore that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because that connection absolutely needed to be made. And just want to shout out real quick, ZZ Lion Dad, $10. Peace, Comrade Salome. Respect. Shout out. Big up. BAP ATL. Indeed. Earlier in your comments, you talked about the state that Sudan was left in after they received flag independence. So two quick questions. What is the difference between flag independence and independence? Because I think people don't understand that there is a difference. And what was the state that Sudan was left in that informs what's happening now?
Yeah, so flag independence. The issue with flag independence is it just leaves room for neocolonialism, right? Which is the highest stage of imperialism, where colonial power like physically is gone, but they're still controlling like the entire country, right? Like what takes place there is still controlled by these colonial powers. And so the difference between that and actual independence is when people have full control over their actual country. People have sovereignty. Like right now, I'm also learning a lot about Nicaragua. And it's just like it's really cool to see what could be made possible when a country actually has full ownership and what types of negotiations could be made. So one of the things that the Sudanese people came up with through, for example, one of the things that like actually made these revolts possible were the neighborhood resistance committees, where folks would like organize neighborhood by neighborhood, block by block, and like negotiate with each other around like what type of Sudan we actually want. And within the Revolutionary Charter for Establishing People's Power, I have a copy that's from January 11th, 2023. It literally outlines what the country would look like. And one of the first things that they name is like really addressing neocolonialism, right? Because if we don't address that, then what kind of country do we actually have? We just have the same type of power struggles that are currently existing. And another thing that they named is like the significance of South Sudan as well. We cannot talk about Sudan without talking about South Sudan, because at the time of independence, like even though at the time of flag independence, 1956, you know, folks in like, and when we talk about the North, I don't mean like all of North Sudan, because even within the peripheries, the struggles look very similar than it does in the South. I'm talking about like in Khartoum, in the city center, while folks are celebrating flag independence, my people in the South are at war, right? At a civil war that's being waged. And another thing is like like I mentioned earlier, all of the political power is left to Khartoum. All of the economic power is left to Khartoum. Like, and by I say left to Khartoum, I don't mean like full ownership of actual people in Khartoum. I just mean by like them also being proxy of the British colonial powers and their interest. And even part of the British, like what they saw as like the Southern problem was always like, what do we do with Southern Sudan? What do we do with this space? And part of the split of Southern Sudan was to assure that they could have access to oil reserves. And that actually also leads me to also mention John Garang, which I think is a very important person. Oops, I'm running out of time. Let me pause. I'll pause there.
No, you can continue that because I'm
please
interested in the South Sudan. That was for them, not you.
So with John Garang was the leader of the Sudanese People's Liberation Movement, and also the Sudanese People's Liberation Army. And the difference between John Garang and a lot of these misleaders we have right now, like, actually I can't say his name, but a lot of the misleaders that we have now is that he was interested in the people of Sudan, right? Of South Sudan, of Sudan. He unfortunately died or was killed before South Sudanese independence. And like the day that he was killed, he was actually in a meeting with some foreign powers, and they basically asked him like, hey, if South Sudan ever became independent, like, I need you to like assure that we'll have access to the oil reserves. And his response was like, the Sudanese people will decide what happens to our oil and our resources. And a few hours later, his flight crashes and he dies on his way back to South Sudan. And this meeting actually took place at Museveni's farm in Uganda. But yeah, this is he is one of the few leaders that I could see as like, he had a complicated history, but he was one of the few that was actually like for Sudanese peoples, and like Sudanese peoples in spite of like ethnic connection, etc., like still uphold John Garang as like a leader that was for Sudanese peoples. And he was also at University of Dar es Salaam the same time that Walter Rodney was there. So also another connection. Jackie, I think you're muted.
Yeah, all the connections about how and why we're all connected. Thank you for that. Just I love it when we don't have to have that argument.
Lucretia, I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to ask or.
Well, Salome has just been so thorough that you've answered both of my questions, which were what were some threats to the Sudanese project on the continent from their neighbors, and also I was really excited to hear what you were excited about in the charter of what Sudan could look like. So if you have anything else you want to add to that.
Yeah, one of the things mentioned in the charter that I think is really important for this moment is that if you had any connection to Bashir, who was ousted in 2019, then you could not be in leadership. And I think that's really important because even folks who may argue like, oh, Burhan, who's the leader of the Sudanese armed forces, should be president, etc., like that doesn't make sense. We just ousted the man that put him to power and was his boss. So why would we just put him into that position? And so that's something I really appreciated within the charter. And I also appreciated that like within there's like deep consideration for South Sudan. And especially like understanding that like our histories are deeply connected with one another. And the separation of South Sudan, though it was voted on by Sudanese people, was really a project led by the US for the interest of the US. And so, and it's part of also the neo-colonial project, right? Which is make these countries into smaller and smaller parts, which is what I think they're trying to do with Darfur, of trying to create like a West Sudan as well. Before this, like Sudan was huge, right? And so like really breaking these parts down. Also, side note, makes me think of Scandal, because I used to watch Scandal. They always talked about West Sudan, and I was like, wait, was this part of the project the whole time? Trying to create a West Sudan and normalize that, but yeah.
Well, Salome, we deeply appreciate you for providing that context. Like I said, you can go online and they're saying free this place and free that place, but there's no real context, I think, about freedom for what. Like what exactly is the struggle that's happening? And I think that we need to know what the struggle is so that we can know what we're advocating for, right? So that we don't get caught up in advocating for the wrong thing, right? Just because we have some empathy for a situation. So I do appreciate you bringing some grounding and some centering. And where can people like follow up and learn more, get engaged? Like, do you have any directives for folks? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the first thing is one thing that I think everybody should actually read is this article. It's called Support Sudan's Revolution, Not an Elite Peace Deal. And it really goes in, it's by Dr. Shara Renivasan. I don't agree with everything in the piece, but what I do appreciate about the piece is like the importance of like laying out that like how these calls for ceasefire actually like re-legitimize powers that are not in the interest of the people. I would also read this text. I really appreciate this text. It's called Sudan's Southern Problem, Race, Rhetoric, and International Relations. And what I appreciate about it is it really like troubles all the things that we say around like Sudan's like African/Arab binaries and really like contextualizing what's taken place in South Sudan and what could be made possible. And so all that to say, like the biggest thing to do right now is actually learn some stuff about South Sudan. Most people don't know about the Horn. Most people don't know about the Sudans. Like learn the actual stuff and use the same critical thinking skills that you would utilize in any of these other places to do so.
Thank you so much.
Read, beloved.
You did it.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, Jackie, you're getting really good at this. We might not need
You know, pushing them out of a job. A little raise for me.
But thank you so much, Salome. You can again follow Salome's work on BAP Atlanta on all their web pages, and they are always doing something. I know when October 7th happened with Palestine, they were already in process of a teach-in on Sudan. So that was already like I think 3 or 4 week teach-in series that happened, and they were already underway. So I thought it was pretty interesting that at that time people were like, no one's talking about Sudan. I'm like, oh, but we are. We are. So I do appreciate that you have been steadfast in this and just all avenues of the Horn. You have been a great resource. You and all the other comrades that were a part of the HOA PALs continue to have the clearest analysis around the situation. So thank you again.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. Do we want a musical break or?
Does he have a fun fact? Does he have any history?
Fun fact. I got a commercial.
No.
I don't think there's a fun fact in here.
Well,
It's Clay Davis.
More tunes.
Tunes.
All right. Tunes it is.
Follow me, yeah. Follow me. I'm hoping to see the day.
Can I get them bees in the chat? Bees in the chat. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Can all relate? We must stop fighting to achieve the peace.
Free Palestine.
That was taught in our country. We shall all be free.
It's 12 past midnight.
Hey,
Don't close your eyes.
hey, hey.
Your soul's up for life.
Be love in the house.
By your side.
Black people in the house. Shout out to Ear Doctor for letting me come and rock out with y'all today.
Just be
Let's go.
aware that you'll have to share. I want your love. I want it tonight. I'm taking your heart, so don't take hide. I'll be your answer. I'll be your wish. I'll be your fantasy. Your favorite gift.
Hey, be love.
The chills that you spill up my back. satisfaction when we're done. Satisfaction of what's to come.
I came to rock with Air Doctor. I came to rock with Air Doctor. Hey, let's go.
Your groove, I do deeply dig. No walls, only the bridge. My cup of dish.
That was really good.
That was it.
Ooh, I'm still dancing.
That was really good. I was surprised. That I did not know what that was nice. Thank you, Ear Doctor.
Shout out to the comrade
Thank you,
Osset,
dear love.
DJ Love.
That was really
We
good.
have a
That was
cool
good.
super chat.
Oh, do we? Let's see. Let me go. Did you got it?
I don't think I can bring it up.
Okay, let's see. Let me go scroll. Oh, wait, there it is. Oh, how come it doesn't let me do that from there?
Oh,
All right.
no.
I will scroll up until I find it. There it is. Thank you so much, 2Fs, $20, coffee and political education on the remix. That's right. We provide it all. Although I don't have any coffee, that's a crime.
Yeah.
But all right, we'll fix that in a minute. Let me
Drink coffee
see.
outside of the country.
Look,
Understandable.
Cuba's. I'm actually out of control in Cuba. I have to actually be physically stopped.
listen, I like coffee. I do, but coffee in Cuba, I was waking up at the camp. Like, so when are we going into town to get some coffee? 'Cause I'm not.
I was
drinking
waking up just for the coffee.
Just
Yeah, I
that's
can't
all
imagine
want.
not smelling that and then like.
But
immediately
then,
awake.
did
Yeah.
you know that there's a company called Amigo Foods where you can buy foods from Latin America all over, like Cubita coffee, y'all.
Drop that link in the email, Jackie. You know how to do that. So
Okie dokie, I'm
I'll
gonna
be
do
seeing
it.
that. Thank you so much.
Who's to tell my business? Erica will have a dozen espresso shots in one day.
Now, espresso I cannot do because it'll probably give me a heart attack. But
Maybe, but
Yeah, I'm usually on like 3 or 4
worth it.
espressos.
I think it's worth it.
I think it's worth it.
the
I
heart
do
attack
have
is
a-
worth it. Wait a minute. Wait.
Take the risk.
Hold on. Did I just hear that right?
I need it.
The
I
rest.
can't keep up without 4 espressos. So.
I'm telling you.
Mm-mm.
Look, the Cubans they have lived very good lives.
Look, man. You want to talk about
So I think
Being
if there's
in another-
anywhere to have a dozen espresso shots and take the risk of a heart attack, it would be Cuba.
that's true.
See,
'Cause,
right? If you're gonna convalesce, right?
it would be in a free country
Yeah, with good health care.
with
That's
decent
what's
health
that.
care. Because it's so different being in a country where people are free. I mean, it feels different. And I would listen to that stuff and like, oh, that's ridiculous. No, man, it feels different. The people are different. They're different from the people we're used to in this joint. These are people who know how to enjoy life because, like you said, Ricky, they've been through it. They have been through it, and they're like, "Look, we won this. We are going have some homemade whiskey here. Come in and have dinner." And
the embassy just had the event recognizing I was going to say African Liberation Month, but they were recognizing Black History Month. We haven't pushed them that far yet as the embassy. Soon though. But it was giving a little Black History Month. I mean, in terms of like the crowd, it was giving Black History Month, not African Liberation Month.
but I
those
forgot.
mojitos at the embassy. But the first thing he said to me, the ambassador was like, "You should eat.
Have you had some?
You should get some food." Because when he's seen me get one, he's like, "I think you should eat because they're pretty strong."
Yeah.
And then 3 mojitos later, I was like, you know what?
Maybe he was
I don't know. Marble steps was the right idea. After serving people drinks.
and the people at the Cuban embassy, they are really fantastic.
They are.
They're always opening their doors to us and always inviting us to these wonderful special events. And I actually forgot that the event was Monday, because my legs and my knees and my kidney, they were just like, nope. I don't care what else you think you're gonna do. You're taking us to bed. So that's just what I did. And I saw the pictures online, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of white people in there.
Well, well, speaking of someone who really likes to explain things straight to white people, I have this story. I wanted to note the passing of Councilman Eric Mays in Flint,
Yeah.
and I wanted to show a TikTok of his most famous comments to the council, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
What you say?
Hopefully.
Lucretia?
It's just a great video. I thought it was great. And I wanted to shout out this man. Here's Councilman Eric Mays.
Eric Mays needs a show.
He-
He did, though.
Point fingers. Monica Galloway arguing, fussing. And she the main one. He's doing points of orders. He's doing points of information. Mr. President, I want to hear from you.
Point of order.
I stick by it. I call you a handkerchief head Negro. I call him a handkerchief head Negro. And I'm sticking with it. Google it.
I'm going to give you
Mr. Metcalf,
warning.
come take care of this
warning.
foolishness.
Okay.
Now do it again and you'll be gone.
Please finish.
Don't interrupt me. I'm 59 years old, finna be 60 and grown. You don't care if I'm 100, but I ain't 100. I ain't 3. You give me respect. I can holler and speak if I want to.
Councilman Mays, please refrain from your profanity.
Nope.
Hell yeah. It shouldn't be fine. We got folks sitting in business and I wouldn't care if you was the chair, the sofa, the TV.
Mr. Mays, you are out of order. We are
You out of order.
all right.
You're talking about everybody. I ain't gonna lower my voice. Quit talking to me. What you telling me to?
Tell me to lower
Okay,
your
what
voice.
if I don't? Damn.
I just wanted to share that because
Oh
I saw that
my
yesterday.
gosh. That would be me as a politician. That's how I
That's
would
what I
act.
said. Listen, diplomacy is hard work.
I'm not up to it anymore.
Everyone
I'm
is
just
saying some
not.
stuff.
I
They
am not up
can't
to
say it here, can't
diplomacy
say it now,
anymore.
don't say it. But that's why group chats were invented. So
Mhm.
that all your little shady comments, you keep
Put
it
'em on in
internally
there.
and send it to the group chat.
Yep. That is hilarious. That is so. And it's funny because he actually does remind me of my dad.
I mean, he's giving like peak dad energy there.
Oh, that was hilarious.
But
That's
Eric
all.
Mays,
Rest in
right?
peace,
He
Eric
was
Mays.
a councilman in in Flint.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep.
I believe he
Yep.
served 3 terms, and it seems like even though he was thrown out of many sessions from these comments, the folks of Flint still loved Eric Mays.
I mean, how can you not love that though?
I think it was so funny when he did the voice. He's like, always call it point of order. And then she
Yeah.
said, "Point of order." And then she did.
And that man said, "What you gonna do if I don't?"
I don't care if you the chair with the sofa.
It's hard.
Oh,
Hard
that
work.
was so perfect. That was so perfect. But that really is like my dad explaining what happened in church last Sunday. And the first lady said that she wanted me and my wife to come up to the church and do this. I told my wife, I ain't going no damn where. And I tell him and his wife that.
I mean, and Flint still doesn't have the water it needs, so he's been
Just-
working
Right,
tirelessly
in spite of that.
in spite
So
of that.
I know that none of the major players served any time for Flint.
I don't think so. Has
So-
anybody been charged officially?
Who was charged?
I think the black.
um,
I just remember there was a black man, and I think he might have been charged, but I don't. I
Oh,
haven't.
he was some underling. that they threw under the bus. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, rest in power for real. um, Council Member Mays, because that dude he was on point and he was hilarious. He was your cantankerous grandpa who got elected to the city council and never stopped being your cantankerous grandpa. That's right, 2X. It was the emergency manager. It was the
Yeah,
emergency manager at Flint. Thank you for that. Yeah.
that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, that was great. That I just and when you have somebody on a city council who interacts with the council like that, I mean, I hope people are wondering what is wrong with the rest of these people that this man is acting like this around them.
Right.
Are they really that horrible? Yes, they are.
Yes.
Yes, they are. The Detroit, just like I think most city councils in a lot of majority Black cities, the city councils are run by a bunch of neoliberals, liberals and developers, really. And the people are getting squeezed out. And Council Member Mays, he was like, "Now, while I'm still alive, you ain't." And it was, sad that he's gone, but he left some gems. Oh, that was great.
We do have one piece that I think is important if we can highlight it.
Yeah, is that the BAP
the
statement
AFRICOM.
on?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get to that. There is so much going on. It is very hard to keep up, but you know how we do.
So I know we often say, right, when there's a humanitarian crisis, quote unquote, we always say the U.S. sends bombs and Cuba sends doctors. We say that about Haiti, Venezuela, any kind of crisis that happens in the area. And as you can see, recently we just wrote a joint statement with the National Network on Cuba, the Black Alliance for Peace, and the Low Country Action Committee in South Carolina around what happened on the continent. So we strongly condemn the U.S. Africa Command, which is AFRICOM, airstrikes in Somalia, reported to have killed 2 Cuban doctors. We mourn the loss of their lives, and we demand the U.S. release all information about the bombing to Cuba and the victims' families. Cuba has deployed more than 600,000 health workers to 165 nations over the last 6 decades on medical missions. 2 Cubans serving in Kenya, Dr. Asel Herrera Correa, a specialist in general medicine, and Dr. Landy Rodriguez Hernandez, a surgeon, were kidnapped there in 2019 and held in the Jalib, southern Somalia. Unofficial sources reported that a U.S. drone strike in Jalib on February 15th killed the Cuban doctors. An AFRICOM spokesperson confirmed the bombing, but would not confirm any civilian casualties.
Because they never do.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs approached the U.S. government through diplomatic channels on February 18th, seeking information, and has yet to receive a response. The president of Cuba's National Assembly is now traveling to Kenya to carry out urgent negotiations and confirm the status of the doctors' lives. We will continue sharing in Cuba's hope of finding the doctors alive until there is official confirmation to the contrary. We call on the U.S. to cooperate with an investigation and to share all information about the attack with Cuba. This attack shows once again that Cuba's foreign policy is to save lives, while U.S. foreign policy is to occupy, bomb, blockade, and destroy lives. As Cuban leader Fidel Castro famously said, quote, "Our country does not drop bombs on other peoples, nor does it send thousands of planes to bomb cities. Tens of thousands of Cuban doctors have provided internationalist services in the most remote and inhospitable places. Doctors, not bombs," end quote. U.S. troops should not be occupying Africa in the first place, nor should they be in Cuba at Guantanamo Bay. Despite the disingenuous, altruistic spin the U.S. puts on their stated purpose for AFRICOM, its real and only purpose is to use military power to impose U.S. control over African land, resources, and labor in service to Western finance capital. AFRICOM's drone operations in Africa have only caused violence, vicious anonymity, right?
Where are we?
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Collateral damage. I was like, there's a couple eyes. Primarily in Libya, Somalia, and Somalia. The numbers of confirmed civilian deaths from drones are as high as 3,200 in these two countries. And studies have shown these conditions have inadvertently aided the growth of terrorist groups in the region. We join the community of Latin American and Caribbean states and the Black Alliance for Peace in calling for an international zone of peace in the Americas. We stand in solidarity with all people facing imperialist violence from Gaza to Guantanamo Bay. Unblock Cuba, let Cuba live, and U.S. out of Africa, shut down AFRICOM.
So the photo at the beginning, at the top in the banner, are of Dr. Landy Rodriguez and Dr. Acel Herrera. They were the two doctors kidnapped in April 2019. So yeah, so I bet you didn't know that the U.S. was still bombing Somalia, because I didn't.
No, I feel like they do it at the beginning of every year.
Do they?
Okay, just like a New Year's
Yeah, you know what?
resolution thing.
Now that I think about it,
Somalia has been bombed in the beginning of the year.
it's like Happy New Year, Somalia. That's just it's just ridiculous. And the other thing is, let's see, the president of Cuba's National Assembly is now traveling to Kenya to carry out urgent negotiations and confirm the status of the doctors' lives. Why Kenya? How did Kenya get involved?
Well, because that's where they were sent.
Okay, they were sent to Kenya. Okay.
They were sent to Kenya and they were kidnapped. So they're trying to meet with Kenyan officials to figure out exactly what happened.
Once again, the empire marches on. It never ends, but we're doing our best to bring this empire down. And that's, that's the whole purpose of organizing. You do know that, right? I mean, folks, remixers watching. Organizing. The end result of organizing is not an election. It's not voting for a lesser evil. It's not, and I'm not going to sit here and tell people who to vote for, whether to vote or not. I don't care. Because at this point, if you don't understand that voting doesn't change anything in this country, we're wasting our breath trying to explain to you that voting doesn't change anything, because you see it. People see it by now. They're feeling it. They see it every time they go to their bank account, every time they go to the grocery store, when they go to the gas station. They try to get something to go to, to get some carry out to eat. You understand that no matter who is president in this country, certain people will always suffer, because that's the way the system is designed. And it doesn't matter who is in the White House, that infrastructure of extracting everything out of poor people in this country and stealing stuff, including people sometimes from other countries, doesn't matter who's in the White House. That's what they are always going to do, because that's how they make their money. So right. End result of organizing is the end of that system. That's the end result of organizing. Freedom and liberation and socialism, if you have any sense. But anyway.
But then it's also like, it's also the importance of internationalism.
Mm-hmm.
You would say Cuba's anti-Black, yada, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're sending doctors nonetheless. They've always been a crucial ally to a plethora of African nations, whether it's in the independence struggle or helping to build it up medically and doing those medical exchanges and training doctors so that they can then leave and then, have that go on, continue while they're not there. And I know during the height of COVID, I want to say, I think we are in another resurgence, but in the beginning, in 2020, 2021, Cuba sent a plethora of doctors, hundreds, thousands of doctors across the world to help assist with that. And in 2021, the U.S. declared that they were running a sex trafficking or a human trafficking ring,
right?
With the doctors. So that they were using the doctors running human trafficking. They sanctioned Cuba for that. So in addition to being on the list of, the terrorist list or the state-sponsored terrorism, in addition to the blockade, they were also sanctioned for human trafficking. So, this is just a continuation. But I think these connections, in the same way that most of the continent is sanctioned for these same similar reasons, I think we need to really be paying attention to how, or the ways that Cuba's connected to Africa, the way Africa's connected to the world, because we really can't just stop at a particular understanding that is more optic than an actual primary contradiction. And we really have to fixate on the primary contradiction, because it is the same mechanisms that is controlling the Kenyan government, that is sending them to Haiti, that are on the backs of the Cuban government, continuing this blockade for 60 plus years. So I think that these things are important to note, because I do feel like there has been an uptick in this sort of, I don't want to say divisive, because you can see how that's used against the left in certain ways, but it is very oppy. It's giving op. Yeah, it's giving. It's it's not doing what people think that it's doing. It's not getting us pushing us any more forward towards liberation. I feel like it's regressive. I feel like it's backwards ideas that's being regurgitated as proper analysis, that is sort of muddying the waters of how we're supposed to understand not only our condition, but the condition of of what's happening to all colonized people. And I think there's a really determined fraction of people who don't want to see it that way, because they want to condemn themselves as the most wretched of the earth, or the most, So, and I think that in order to hold that, you can't consider or have consideration for other struggles, because you can't be the most oppressed and then acknowledge other oppression, right? And I think that that's been a detriment to how we've been able to organize. Like it's really been an impediment to organization, because it's that sort of logic that then leads people to say, well, I only know of this 2% of the population because they happen to be Black. And if we don't prioritize this 2% of the population, then I am not having anything to do with it. And I just feel like it's really the wrong road. And I really try to be careful about how I word it, because people believe that there's like hostilities towards it. And possibly, but there is valid criticisms around how it is being applied to a geopolitical spectrum that is calling for a multipolar world against the U.S. the U.S. EU NATO axis of domination, right? That is a primary contradiction, is imperialism. And when we detract from that primary contradiction, we end up nowhere. And that's where we are now. We have no solid movement. We have no solid foundational movement because of these sort of individualist, postmodernist notions of analysis and ways to get us free that really are not material, or don't consider the actual material conditions of the world and what's happening. It's really what's happening to me.
I think that's so right. And I feel like the piece where, in your international piece that you mentioned, I think that is really important, is I've learned that from BAP and from all of you, really, that the material conditions on the ground are subject to the strategies of the people on the ground. So I may think, or we may think in the Americas, that maybe Sudan's response to their movement is something we may not have chosen, or something like that. And I think really that self-sovereignty piece of understanding that people should be, or they have the right to respond to their struggle in a way that they choose to, instead of what we may think, or what people in the United States or Canada may think freedom looks like, especially if you are a Black person or a brown person or African person critiquing revolutionary movements.
Yeah, and there's, there is the need for international solidarity, the need for clear analysis of of foreign policy and the need for us to be able to connect those issues with ours, it also gets kind of run over by the bulldozer of bootstrapism too. I think among a lot of folks in the U.S. And particularly Black folks, because we love ourselves some bootstrapism. It just, we're still, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And one of the things, like, just in my everyday going around, not so much now, but people would always stop me. Oh, are you Jackie Luke Bond? Yeah. And so we'd always end up having a conversation. People will always ask like 2 or 3 really weird questions about organization. The first one is always, well, what do you all feel about armed struggle? And I'm like, lady, I just want you to come to a meeting. We are not, we're not there yet. We're not at the armed struggle phase yet. I need you to read a book. That's what I need you to do. But then there's also, most of us are poor. We don't have any money. We can't help anybody. So, how can we organize anybody if we don't have anything? Like, how do you think we survive? Like, I don't understand Black people who have that mentality, because how do you think we are still here? After enslavement, after Reconstruction, after the Red Scare, after all of that, we've been poor, and we've been helping each other, and we've been organizing. The enslaved rebelled and organized and got themselves free. There were rebellions on plantations all over this country before the ship even got to this country. And people who literally had nothing, because it was illegal for them to have too much of anything, did indeed organize and help each other, having really not a lot of material resources, if any, certainly a lot less material resources than we have, right? So it's like, I'm always so confused about what people understand about the struggle for liberation, and organization. I mean, I get that people don't understand organization a lot, but I'm really confused. Like, how do y'all think we survived all this stuff with nothing? I mean, the black middle class is an exaggeration.
Right.
It's like 15 Black people with $5,000 in the bank. That's the rest of us hope the chicken is on sale this week. Come on. We're deciding whether we can pay our rent and buy our groceries and buy medication for our kid. That has been our material condition since we've been here, just about. So I don't understand this idea that because we're poor, we can't help nobody. What? I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a dissimilar line than, the rest of the world is waiting on us. Like, we can't help them. Yeah, we can't do nothing for them if we are not, helping ourselves. And I do want to say they are not waiting on us, and they would be a damn fool to do
if they did
to do it.
That would be
fools to wait on us, because the conditions that we are in right now, if you just peek at Twitter.
I went on Twitter yesterday and I was like, what is this fresh hell? I didn't even understand what the hell. And then I realized they were talking about what's the young man's name? Aaron
Bushnell.
Yeah, Bushnell.
Jackie.
They were talking about how we can't say rest in power because he's white.
Jackie, that's not even there's been so many bad faith conversations around this man.
And I'm just like,
yeah, it's really bad, because I don't think people, again, there's things that they're involved in without really any understanding, right? We're talking about capitalism. We're talking about classes, right? They're so quick to talk about the petty bourgeois and the working class, but cannot recognize a class traitor, even when it's live streamed, Jackie. That was the highest stage
I'm
to be a class traitor, is to set yourself on fire and
Woo!
reject the U.S. military. And it
Your
was
literal body on
unrecognizable
fire.
to quote unquote scientific socialists. And that is why I said the rest of the world would be a damn fool
if they
wait on
waited
us,
for us.
because we don't even recognize that. If the Palestinians could praise that as a highest honor because they understand what it is to be a martyr and to martyr yourself, and they have honor and respect for that. And we're over here talking about, but he served and killed brown people. He recognized that.
Yes.
I don't know how else he could have
And that is why he set
repaid
himself
that.
on. So that is why for me, it's infuriating the conversations that people would rather have, because when they have these conversations, they don't have to do these things. They don't have to take these risks. They don't have to actually show up. So
That's
they want
exactly
to stay
true.
buried in discourse.
Exactly.
It's
And it
safer
was
to be buried in discourse, and it's safer to be on the online left than actually engage in building up a true left here.
Exactly. Twitter has been it has been more of a dumpster fire and a sewer than it usually has been. And it's like, yeah, I think this is it for me. That none of that made any damn sense. Y'all didn't even acknowledge the fact that this young man who'd been in the Air Force for 3 years, Biden is about to send the Air Force to Gaza so they can help Israel bomb Palestinians. And this brother said, nope, I can't do this anymore. I have been complicit in some things, and my complicity ends right now. And I mean that I just could not believe that people were not talking about that. You're right, Ricky. The fact that this young man committed the highest act of class suicide. And people get mad because they're saying rest in power because he white. He got a power you don't have, that's for sure.
Well,
he's exercising a power you refuse to exercise, that's for sure. So before we get out of here, let me make sure I shout out Raj Singh. Yes, having a hot flash.
Heated moment.
Listen, I done worked myself up too.
I'm serious.
I'm a little sweaty.
These days, I might burst into flames one day. I don't know. Raj Singh, thank you for the $50. Says, thank you, sisters, for another great live. We appreciate you very, very much. It is 10 o'clock, so I guess we have to end, or else the boss is going to come back on the screen and tell us to do things. Oh,
yes, we
thank you
must.
so much, ladies. It was fantastic today.
Yes, it was.
I will see you all tomorrow. I'll definitely see you tomorrow.
At least in the chat. At least
tomorrow.
Yes, you'll see
Day
me
of action for Haiti.
And yeah, you'll see me around.
Yeah.
Look at some banners.
I'm gonna see if I can make it to that Princeton thing. We'll see.
Please
that would be
do.
fun.
Please do.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'll send you the it does have the registration link, a QR code, but I'll be sure to put it in the BAP listserv.
All right, cool. Thanks so much, you all, for joining us today on Women's Wednesday on the Remix Morning Show. We'll be back tomorrow with some of the other humans that are on the show, or maybe not. Never know.
Everybody.
Thanks a lot. Peace. Have a great day, y'all.
Peace.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Remix Morning Show as we get y'all ready for another day tomorrow. Make sure y'all tune in 8 a.m. as we do it again. And tell a friend as we take you out with this in mix. Let's do it like this. Let's go.
Oh, my Jamaican guy. My Jamaican guy.
Let's go.
My Jamaican guy.
Over Islam. No one under it. I wanna be in love with the girl who's exactly my age. Don't know how it feels, but I know I'm not afraid. And if she's one day over, that means she's overage. And if she's one day under, that means she's underage.
That way you go all over. No way one follow from me. 'Cause Laid back, not laying back. Laid back, not worried back. Laid back, not thinking back. Laid back, never holding back. I said, my, and I. Oh, oh, oh.
That's right. Make sure y'all tune in again as we do it again tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. And we out of here. Peace.